Lawyers who read wills to families. What is the most interesting, bizarre, offensive, surprising thing you have had to read out loud? To my daughter Anne, who created my beautiful granddaughter Jane, and her dear fourth husband John, who laid hands on my Jane, I leave $1, you money-grubbing bastards. To Jane I leave all of my monetary assets, save $5,000 and my best gun, which I leave to my son Bill, on the condition that he beats John bloody during the time between my funeral and my burial. It went something like this. Frank, if your fat monkey heart is still beating, then congratulations. I want you to know that I hereby leave all of your money to Bruce Mathis, the real father of my children, a handsome man with a beautiful soul and a nicer penis. For my darling son Dennis, I give you my house on the sole condition that Frank is not be allowed in. Deidre, you get nothing. In my trusts and estates class in law school, we read a case about a man who left everything to his wife, but only if she got his body stuffed and left it on the living room couch forever. Luckily for her, the court invalidated that part of the husband's will. IRC, part of the reasoning was that it would make it impossible for her to date a divided by remarry if she had her husband's creepy dead body glaring at anyone who came to see her. When I was a clerk in law school at the State Court of Appeals, the adult children of a rich woman tried to invalidate the will. Basically, the woman was worth about $8 million, and all the children were working professionals earning 6 or 7 figures. While the woman had used the same hairdresser for multiple years and left a considerable amount in a trust for the hairdresser's children's education. The remainder of the estate was given to different charities. Basically, the kids were mad they didn't get a cut. Lawyer here. I once amended a will for a doctor in which he disinherited his son by removing everything he had intended to bequeath and replacing it with a manure spreader. I didn't ask any questions because changing a will is an easy thing to do. But one day, that doctor will die and his son will have essentially be told to eat shit. We had a client who was a widowed farmer who owned several heavy equipment Caterpillar trucks, and so on. He had 2 sons who were already working with him at the farm and a daughter who was working in the city. He willed the heavy equipment to the daughter. When asked why, since these equipment were essential to the farm, he said that the farm was to go as kids equally, but his girl needed to know he always wanted her to join their venture and dispel her notions of alienation because she was a girl. To my wife I leave her lover and the knowledge that I was never the fool she thought me. To my son I leave the pleasure of working for a living for 25 years. He thought the pleasure was all mine. That's December was in my wills and trusts book in law school as an example of people talking shit in their wills. You're supposed to discourage them as lawyers from doing so. A friend of mine was adopted at birth. When her mom died, the will gave half the estate to her 2 natural daughters. My friend got nothing. I don't remember enough of the story, but there was a guy in the 1800s that left his estate to his great-grandchildren because he didn't want his actual children to benefit at all. I think they only recently received the money. My father-in-law was an accountant for some rather wealthy people. One of them was asking him to assist with writing up his will worth millions. The final addition he suggested was that if the children contested it, they get nothing. They contested it for years. Best will story I personally know of. The father had a valuable antique grandfather clock. He also had 2 daughters. His solution: if I die on an even day, daughter A gets the clock. An odd day and daughter B gets it. The daughter who did not get the clock got an equivalent cash award based on the value of the clock. I know of the event because I had to service the clock several times over the years. Saw someone's moms will get read to them. Her ex-lover got all of her money and she gave her mansion to her son and gave her daughter nothing and said she was a disappointment and a mistake. The kicker was though the kids were twins. I'm not a lawyer, but my family has an odd story involving a will. Several generations back, a woman along with her brothers in our family inherited a huge sum of money from her father, oil money in Oklahoma. At that time, women were allowed to inherit property divided by assets if single, but all assets would have been transferred to her husband if she married. She wasn't too happy about the situation and, in protest, never took a husband. She had a few friends over the course of her life and lived a very comfortable life until dying of old age, at which time her estate was divided amongst all of the female descendants in the family. I know you're looking for lawyers and whatnot, but here, have my mediocre will story anyway. My great-grandmother left her daughter just $1, and not a single penny more, so help me God. This was before I was born, but my grandmother, not the daughter with the dollar, said that when they all read, though her sister had a full-blown temper tantrum and no one heard from her since. I guess she had it coming. Write your stories in the comments, subscribe and watch our others videos.